Hello, Kenneth Kelly from Muse Website Design, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to choose a hosting provider for your website as a children's entertainer. So let's get started straight away, and let's start off by saying, what is a web host? Now, I want to state right here at the beginning that the place where you buy your domain, and your domain is your www.yourbusinessname.com.uk, wherever you are in the world, you don't have to get your domain and your web hosting from the same company. Very often when you go to buy your domain, it will be with a company who also offers hosting, and they will try and upsell you and try and sell you a hosting package. But hosting and domains are very different, and you don't need to get them from the same place. So just a quick overview. Your domain is what makes your website accessible to the web. It's the place that it lives. It's its home. It's the piece of ground where you build your house, and your house is your website. So your hosting provider provide that ground for you. They provide you server space. So that is place on a computer where you can store all the different files that are going to make up your website. And you're going to sometimes want fast server space if you have a site that is demanding and you want it seen by a lot of different people. Sometimes they will offer you an interface, and that interface is called a control panel, and that's a place where you can log in and access different areas of your hosting and change settings that will affect how your website will show. They may offer you a template-based website, a website builder, where you can go in and you can kind of, I guess, build a website yourself. I don't recommend this because the website builders that they offer are very limited, and you may find that you very quickly outgrow that. You find a lot of functionality is lost by using the website builders. But they are there, and they are offered when you are looking for a hosting provider. And then they may offer you various tools and services such as SSL, which is secure servers which you can take credit card payments on, or they may offer you backups that they do for you, so they back your site up, or they may offer you virus protection on your site. So there are various services that you may be offered when you're looking. So we start off with server space. What is server space? Well, basically, it's just a bit of space on somebody's computer somewhere. However, the computers that are used for web hosting provision are really specialist computers. They're not just kind of like the computer that you may have using for your desktop. They are dedicated. They're built for purpose. They're very, very fast. However, when you're buying hosting, you may be sharing a server with some other websites. You are using shared server space. Now, as children's entertainers, I guess that's okay. We don't need a full dedicated server just for ourselves. We can take hosting share, but that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that little piece of ground, as it were, on that computer. So the services that are offered by your hosting provider are almost like the kind of services that you might get in your home. So if you have a home, you've got that piece of ground. Piece of ground is, I guess, as close as we can get to our server, just describing it. It's the piece of ground. Your website would be the house. So you can have a different company to build your house than put the piece of ground down. And the same is true when you're getting out there. You can have somebody build your website for you on the server that you choose. But the server is generally going to supply your gas, your electricity, and your water. They're going to supply the services that make your house work. So when considering the hosting provider that you choose for your business, it's worth making sure that they're going to have the right services for you to be able to function correctly. So if we're talking about houses, if I have a gas stove, a stove that works from a gas supply, and I move onto a piece of land and build my house that doesn't have a gas supply, then I don't have one. And very often you'll find a service provider, if you did need a gas supply, they'd charge you more to put that in. So it's about having a look at what your requirements are before you go ahead and get your hosting, and take that into consideration and make sure that the services are already there for you. So what do you look for? Well, there's a whole pile of technical stuff that you could take into consideration. I downloaded a comparison table and just went over it. And to be honest with you, a lot of them are pretty much of a muchness. The top ranking companies try to offer the same kind of services. They're competing against one another, I guess, as energy companies compete against one another, as supermarkets compete against one another. So they offer very similar kinds of services. So you basically, whichever company you're going with, as long as they're a reputable company, you're probably going to get, on the face of things, the same kind of services. They're offering you bandwidth. Bandwidth can be described as the size of the pipe that comes out of your server. So how much data can go through that pipe? How much information can travel between your website and your viewer who may be calling your website up? That's dependent on the bandwidth. And bandwidth becomes particularly important if you are hosting videos on your site. Disk space. How much space would you need on that server? You get allocated a certain amount of space depending on how much you pay. Again, as children's entertainers, our sites are not like Amazon where they're absolutely massive, so we don't need too much disk space. But again, we need enough to do the job and to host the website and know that we're not going to run out. Unlimited SQL databases. An SQL database is really important if you're going to run a website like a WordPress website. A WordPress website writes to a database, so the information you put in is stored within a database, and you need a hosting provider that will be able to hold a database for you. Domain hosting. So your domain is your www.yourbusinessname.com.uk, whatever that may be. That is your domain. And it's worth checking with your host that they're going to be able to host the domain that you have. There are two services offered by hosting providers. They offer Linux and they offer Windows. Now, this doesn't refer to the kind of computer or operating system that you use when you are on the internet. It's actually what software runs the servers. And generally, you're going to be going, if you're looking for an SQL database and you're looking to run a WordPress website, you'd be looking for Linux hosting as opposed to Windows hosting. And I guess, I know I made this mistake when I first started out. I was on a Windows computer, so I selected the package that offered me Windows hosting, and that was incorrect. I had to go and change that over to Linux a little bit later. I thought it referred to the operating system I was working on. So generally, you're going to go with Linux. Control panel is kind of a little doorway. It's a little doorway where you can go onto your server and you can see all the different elements or the aspects of your site. And most hosting providers, basic hosting providers, will offer you a control panel. When you start looking at dedicated servers, when you start looking at specialist super fast servers, you may not have the control panel because the control panel can slow your site down and offer security vulnerabilities. But 90% of the time, if you just want regular old hosting, it's going to come with a control panel. Website builder. We spoke about the website builder. I don't recommend that you build a website on a website builder. They are so limiting. You will find that you need to move away from that pretty quickly. You can't bring in things like Google Analytics easily. It's difficult to add tools and tracking to your site. I'd say steer clear of website builder. Mailboxes. Your hosting provider is usually the person who's going to look after your mail. So even if you got your domain from somebody else, your www. From somebody else, your mailbox will be held with your hosting company. And it might be ken@musewebsitedesign.com. So that would be my email address. And that is looked after by my hosting company. And then we're looking at support, and you need 24/7 support. You really do. That is so, so important. When you're choosing a provider, make sure that they've got the backup to be able to look after you if you're in trouble. You go on the website and your site is gone, phone your hosting provider, because usually it's a disruption in hosting provision that's going to bring your site down. You want to be able to get through to them, speak to a real life person, and get them to act on that straight away. So who do I recommend? Well, I recommend two companies. If you're looking just for regular run-of-the-mill hosting that's going to hold your website, that's going to give you the mailboxes, that's going to give you a control panel and give you exceptional support, I found that Bluehost has never steered me wrong. I have built a number of websites on Bluehost. I've been very, very happy with their services. Their servers are nice and fast. They're nice and easy to interact with. And of course, you can find our affiliate link to Bluehost below this video. If you're looking for something more special, for instance, if you want a specific server location, and why that matters is that Google sometimes will look at where your server is based. So if you are based in the UK, I'm using this as an example, but your server or your hosting provider is based in the USA, it's a long way for that data to travel to get to somebody who might be searching for a local service in the UK. And there are some that say by moving your server to the UK, Google views you more favorably. Not sure how much it sways it, but we certainly have some of our servers based in the UK, and we use WP Engine. They are very specialist. You really need to know what you're doing there. You maybe need to have a web designer, developer look after your site for you if you're going with hosting like WP Engine, because they don't have a cPanel or a control panel, so you don't have access to be able to go in and make the changes that you would on a regular hosting provider. You also get no mailboxes with WP Engine, and it costs a lot more because you're getting a really fast, really specialist server. And also keep in mind that WP Engine stands for WordPress Engine, and it is only it will only host WordPress sites. So there's my recommendations. There's a little bit of background of what hosting is, how it all works on the servers, what kind of things you may be looking out for. I hope that that has been useful for you.